Hello everyone, welcome to Daily News Simplified, an easy and smart way of covering the newspaper for civil service examination. We are going to take a discussion on today's newspaper, The Hindu, Delhi edition. The articles we'll be taking up for discussion has been shown on the screen. The time stamping for the same has been given in the description section. Before we begin with today's discussion, let's see some of the features and the content on our e-learning platform. I hope you have familiarized yourself and you have explored enough to be aware of the study material that we have put on our eLearn platform. If you want to know what's new, go to the feed wall. Here you will find the latest material that have been put up. For example, just 4 hours back, UPSC Prelims 2020 MCQ on current affairs November has been put up. Similarly, whatever update, whatever material has been put up on the website, you will come to know from this feed wall. If you go to this tab of study material, you will find rich resource of material for the coming prelims examination. For example, International Relation MCQ from the DNS from May 2019 to March 2020 has been updated in a test format. Similarly, you will find MCQs from DNS made in the form of the test uploaded on the e-learning platform. For instance, you can see the MCQs for science and technology, on economy, and similarly on other sections. The budget and economic survey also has been uploaded as part of Prelims Compass 2020 series. You must also be aware that Prelims test series has been made free and you can attempt all the tests for the coming Prelims examination by going into the tab of Prelims test series and take the test in the test format as per your convenience. You must also be aware that there are discussion going on in the form of question and answer for mains in the mains assignment questions tab. You can access all DNS videos by going to the tab videos. Then you'll go to the video courses. Then you can see this option of DNS videos. If you open that up, you can see the DNS videos uploaded so far. If you open one of the DNS video, you can easily skim through various topics that have been taken up for discussion in particular DNS video. And if you want to go to that particular topic, you just have to click that topic and video will begin from there. There are also prelims quiz just below the DNS video, and questions in the quiz are pertinent to the discussion that have been taken up in the DNS video. The e-learning platform is full of resource. It is up to you to make the maximum use of it. Visit various tabs, explore it, find out the materials that will be useful for you for the coming prelims and the mains exam. This news from page number 1 is titled MGNREGA jobs crash to 1% of normal. This is an important article. Question on MGNREGA was expected to be asked in the mains examination of 2019. But it didn't appear there. It is likely that it will appear in the mains examination of 2020. Because UPSC has been asking question with lag of 1 or 2 years. If you are expecting to write mains this year, this is a topic you should be completely thorough with. Also, since NREGA is an important flagship program of Government of India, it is to be covered under this section of the syllabus, welfare schemes for vulnerable section of population by center and states, and performance of these schemes under GS paper 2. This article has been written in the context of a petition filed in Supreme Court demanding that government must pay full wages to all active job card holders during this time of distress. Because similar instruction has been given by Supreme Court to other employers that they should not cut down on the wages of their employees. So petition just want a directed instruction in case of NREGA. The article puts out data showing that job creation under MGNREGA is gone. Data taken from the NREGA website shows that employment in April so far is only 1.9 lakhs. In the previous month of March, it was 1.6 crore. And in the previous month to that, in February, it was 1.8 crore. All this has happened despite the fact that migrant laborers have gone back to the villages, which was expected to increase the job demand, and Ministry of Rural Development has given directive to the states asking them to continue with this scheme with the practice of social distancing. And Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana relief package also announced that there will be hike in the wage of NREGA by rupees 20. But however, many of the states have closed down the MGNREGA work sites, rendering all these measures as useless. The story so far is that Supreme Court has accepted the petition, but the judgment has not come yet. You'll have to keep an eye as to what will be the judgment of Supreme Court because that's going to be important. A, it's important concerning the measures taken by vulnerable section, and B, there are technical issues in giving the judgment. Because the petition is asking to give full wages to all active job card holders. But the data shows that last year there were 7.6 crore active job card holders, but only 5.5 crore family were seeking jobs. So as to whom should be compensated, that is a technical issue. How Supreme Court will resolve this, that is to be seen. Since this is a very important topic for the coming mains examination, we will cover this in a greater detail. So let's begin from the beginning. National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is a demand-driven social security measure that provides minimum of 100 days of unskilled work per household in a financial year. These information are important for the prelims examination. Who is eligible for the scheme? Anyone who is above 18 years of age and reside in rural areas. This scheme is applicable throughout the country except for those districts which has 100% urban population. And how urban and rural population are decided in India, you have to tell me that in the comment section. This scheme has been hailed by many, including World Bank, as the largest anti-poverty program. And the importance of this scheme is very high due to the fact that it is considered as backbone of rural economy whenever there is economic distress. According to the 2011 socio-economic caste census, around 40% of rural households are landless and depend on manual labor. This is the data that you have to keep up your sleeve to be used whenever there is a question on rural distress, rural employment generation in the mains examination. As we have discussed already, there were 7.6 crore families having active job cards under the scheme and 5.5 crore families were seeking work under the scheme. And this is a huge number. This scheme is catering to the employment generation of large number of people. On an average, the daily wage has gone up substantially from the time this scheme was introduced. Present average daily wage is rupees 209. And you must also remember a fact from NSSO report that areas with low consumption expenditure have higher MGNREGA demand as compared to areas with higher consumption expenditure. Lower consumption expenditure signifies economic financial distress, less demand. And when there is less demand, more financial stress, then MGNREGA is an important source of income. And it also has been observed that women, SCs and STs as beneficiaries of MGNREGA, their percentage has increased over the period of time. Presently, women are around 50% in the workforce under MGNREGA. So despite all its lacuna, it is indeed a very important source of employment generation, especially in the time of economic distress. There are certain very important characteristics of this scheme which you have to remember for the mains exam. There is no concept of right to work under fundamental right in India. Right to work is not recognized as fundamental right, although it's a very important part of directive principle of a state policy, but it is not justifiable right. However, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme is right-based. You can go and ask for work, and if work is not given to you, then unemployment allowance will be given to you. So it is a right-based approach that has been adopted through MGNREGA. It is also demand-driven. Center gives resources to the state government depending upon how much demand is there for the work in the state. There is also no problem of targeting unlike other schemes because this scheme is self-targeting. You seek for work. If you need work, you go and ask for work. That is self-targeting and hence this overcomes the problem of targeting. As we have talked about, there is unemployment allowance. If you go to seek work and work has not been provided to you within 15 days, then you are entitled for unemployment allowance. Unemployment allowance is not common in India, unlike Nordic nations. However, under this scheme, for the first time, this concept was introduced and it was institutionalized. If you don't get work, you'll get unemployment allowance. However, that will be lower than the wage that ordinarily a person will be getting under MGNREGA. The scheme adopts bottom-up approach and it strengthens grassroots democratic institution of our country, which is Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha actually is entitled to decide on the nature of work to be adopted in the village, and it is also entitled to implement 50% of the work in terms of cost. and the rest 50% is taken up by the district administration or the state government. Also, tools of good governance, strengthening transparency and accountability has been embedded in the scheme. For example, there is mandatory provision of social audit. There is also a provision of ombudsman system because CAG does not audit MGNREGA, and Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act also asks the state government to proactively disclose all the information on the web portal. And that's how the information we have got that 1.9 lakh people have got employment so far under NREGA. As we saw in the beginning, performance of the schemes taken for the vulnerable sections by the center and the state has been mentioned in the syllabus. So if you're doing any important scheme, you have to do the performance analysis of this scheme because that's the most likely thing to be asked in the mains exam. Let's do the same for National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. How the scheme is doing? The scheme is doing fairly well despite its lacuna that we will also discuss. But first thing is there has been increase in rural wages. As we have seen, the present wage under the scheme with some disparity among the state is 209 rupees, and it has gone up substantially from the time it was institutioned. Although to a limited extent, the scheme has helped in achieving the concept of decent work by providing facilities like shade and also Krishe facilities in certain NREGA sites, for example in Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. As we have seen a moment back that 5.5 crore households were given employment last year. On an average, 5 crore households have been given employment from 2008. Obviously, this will help in reducing the distressed migration. We have also discussed that the scheme is self-targeting. NREGA is also seen as a risk mitigation mechanism. As per the annual report of Ministry of Rural Development on NREGA, it has been shown that when rainfall is scanty, in those years, there is higher overall participation in NREGA. Although there has been claims and allegations that MGNREGA has diverted the manpower from agriculture, hurting agriculture. But Ministry of Rural Development in its annual report has put out that MGNREGA has actually helped agriculture. It has helped in various ways, for example, construction of agricultural assets like farm ponds, irrigation assets, and this has helped in the usage of barren lands for cultivation. This has also helped the small and marginal farmers in moving towards dual and multi-cropping, and this has also helped in making the water available in general for humans and livestock. NREGA has also helped in empowerment of weaker section and hence bringing social justice in society. This is a very important data that you have to remember that as per NSSO report, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes have accounted for 51% of manpower under NREGA. Women around 47% and this has increased to around 50% right now. But the mandated percentage of women participation was 33%. And the women participation has surpassed much higher than this. You also have to know, as per the directive given by Ministry of Rural Development to the states, beneficiaries under Forest Right Acts are entitled for 150 days of employment as against 100 days of employment in general category. And certain states like Rajasthan has given employment of 200 days to communities like Shahriyas. So this is a very important scheme for socio-economic justice and empowerment of weaker sections. The scheme has also helped in financial inclusion because the payment under the scheme is done directly into the bank accounts of the beneficiaries through direct benefit transfer. You can also highlight that certain human development indicators are supposed to be increased, although we do not have very strong concrete data on this. But since the income generation has increased, based on that, you can say that food security and nutritional security must have improved to a certain extent, and when the income of adult in the households increases, that inversely affects child labor and positively impacts children's schooling. Because we saw in the beginning in the definition that this provides only unskilled work, and that is one of the major criticism. We will see certain ways how to improve the design of MGNREGA. First and foremost is to expand the definition of work. There are certain states who have taken proactive measures in this regard. For example, state of Tamil Nadu, they have been giving employment in semi-skilled areas under MGNREGA as well. So definition of work must be improved to include semi-skills work as well. For example, desilting of canals and water bodies. This is taken up in the state of Tamil Nadu. This should be taken as a template and improvement in the act should be done by the Central Ministry of Rural Development. What can also be done is to converge MGNREGA with the skilling program of Government of India like Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojana. And involvement of SHGs can also be done either in skilling program or registration of workers, etc., as was seen in Kudumbashree in Kerala. When SHGs were involved, participation under MGNREGA improved drastically. MGNREGA is already using infrastructure of direct benefit transfer. So beneficiaries already have bank accounts and their mobile numbers are also registered. So the infrastructure of JAM Trinity can be further utilized to increase the insurance coverage through the MGNREGA program, and microcredit and micro insurance can also be given to the beneficiaries under MGNREGA. This is a very important suggestions for the improvement of the scheme. Gram Sabha, as we saw in the beginning, although has been made the central point in the implementation of the scheme, but the Gram Sabha is most of the time marginalized, sidelined by the district administration or the state government. But in this regard, Meghalaya as a state has become a role model in giving immense amount of power to the Gram Sabha in implementation of the scheme. This can also be considered by the Ministry of Rural Development to improve the scheme. As we saw previously in the feature of the scheme that social audit is mandatory for the scheme. But most of the state has not institutionalized it and social audit does not happen regularly. But Andhra Pradesh and Telangana government have made special provision for the social audit beyond what has been mentioned in the legislation. And hence, this becomes another important recommendation for the improvement of the scheme. We saw previously that there is an ombudsman system within the scheme, but it is recommended for better financial integrity and propriety. CAG must be allowed to do the audit of MGNREGA. Presently, there is no provision of grievance redressal. It is mentioned in the Act that you go for the work, you'll be given the work. If the work is not given within 15 days, you'll be given unemployment allowance. There is nowhere you can go for your grievance redressal except for the courts, and that is going to take time. So it is suggested that a grievance redressal mechanism should be made within the provision of the scheme. Presently, work of 100 days is mandated under the scheme, and it is suggested that because of the rural distress, this can be increased further, maybe to 150 or 200 days, depending upon the resource with the state government. Writing a small case study in the mains examination can be very marks fetching, especially in 15 marker. I'm giving you a case study which you have to trim down within 50 words to make it usable for the 15 markers in the mains exam. See, Tamil Nadu has institutionalized MGNREGA with Public Works Program. And the dual purpose of asset creation and livelihood security is ensured in this way. Ministry of Rural Development of the state is collaborating with Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Horticulture, etc. for this purpose. This covers most of the aspect of MGNREGA. You can use this notes as a template for the answer writing and you keep adding it throughout the year up till you write the mains examination, anything that you consider relevant to this topic. This article from page number 1, it has been titled Center May Raise Loan to Pay GST Dues to States. In our discussion here, we'll try and understand what are these dues to the states that center needs to pay and why center is finding it hard now to pay these dues to the states. GST is a very important topic for the exam, both for prelims and mains. UPSC actually has asked already GST in both prelims and the mains examination. But since the implementation and functioning of GST still remains unsettled, this still remains a contemporary issue and hence is still important for the exam. GST actually is very important topic under economy section of GS paper 3. What has happened is due to economic slowdown that precedes the outbreak of COVID-19, the consumption has gone down. And because of that, GST revenue and GST compensation cess collection has also gone down. Due to this, the center is finding it hard to pay the promised GST compensation under the GST Act. In fact, presently, rupees 40,000 crore is spending to the state by the central government, and recently many states wrote to the finance secretary to release this amount. But releasing this amount is not easy because center's finance is not in healthy state. But because of the constitutional and legislative compulsion, this amount has to go to the state. So the central government is tinkering with the idea to resort to market borrowing to be able to pay this amount to the states. See, the story is like this. Center wanted to bring GST regime in the country for two reasons. One, it will be simplifying the job, and second, it will increase the revenue collection of the government. It subsumed number of central and state indirect taxes like excise duty, service tax, central sales tax, VAT, octroi duty, etc. But however, certain states had apprehension that their revenue is going to go down because they thought that revenue collection by their own will be higher than the unified GST regime that will prevail in the country. To bring the states on board, central government promised that it will compensate the state for any lost revenue due to the imposition of GST regime. And for that, central came up with GST compensation cess. This compensation cess is levied on luxury and sin goods, and the proceeds are used to compensate the states for the lost revenue. This would be done for 5 years from the commencement of GST regime. It was so important that it was made part of the legislation. According to the GST Act, states and UTs with assemblies are guaranteed compensation if the GST revenue growth is less than 14%. The amount is paid bi-monthly. Suppose a state had revenue collection of 100 units, and after the commencement of GST regime, the revenue collection is only 110 units. So that is less than 14% growth. It was ought to be 114. That was the assumption that GST will bring 14% increment year on year in the revenue collection. Now, since it is 4 units short from 114, so this 4 unit will be compensated by the central government to the state, and that will come from GST compensation cess. But things don't work out always as we imagine. The market dynamics are difficult to predict. Everything was going fine till July of 2019. Center was able to pay the compensation to the state government from the GST compensation cess. In fact, the collection from the cess was far than what was required to be paid to the state government. But the fiscal health of both the state and central government started to deteriorate after July 2019. And slowly and steadily, economic slowdown started to creep in. And situation became bad after November, so bad that the central government was not able to pay the dues to the state. And from November till March, it has been 4 months that the central government has not paid the dues to the state government. If you see the figure now, the gap has grown huge from what needs to be compensated to the state government and what has been collected through the GST revenue cess. So in this regard, the article says that the central is tinkering with the idea that it can resort to market borrowing. Who will decide whether market borrowing has to be resorted to or not? The GST Council. Let's talk a little bit about GST Council. First and foremost thing you need to know that GST Council is a constitutional body. It has been constituted under Article 279A. And it makes recommendation to the union and state government on issues related to goods and service tax. Who is the chairman? Union Finance Minister is the chairman of the council. Union State Minister of Revenue or Finance, the Minister of State, and the finance ministers of the state government, they are the members of the council. Every decision in the council is taken by majority vote, and the majority of not less than 3/4 of members present and voting. You have to remember this. You also have to remember that the vote share of the central government is 1/3 and the vote share of the state governments in the council is 2/3. There's a term that Economic Survey 2017-18 introduced, which is important for mains answer writing: cooperative federalism technology. And GST is considered to be one of the important cooperative federalism technology to bring together the central and the state and chalk out the difference and to take major decisions on policy reforms. There are 2 related articles on page number 6 and page number 5 pertaining to removal of a state election commissioner from the state of Andhra Pradesh. Election Commissioner and Chief Minister of the state of Andhra Pradesh had difference of opinion regarding conducting polls for the local bodies. State Election Commissioner wanted to postpone it due to COVID-19 and Chief Minister wanted to conduct it immediately. There are political reasons for that, but we will not delve deep into it. However, you understand that due to any disaster, when the suffering becomes unbearable, there is sentiment raised against the system, against the government. And it is likely that after the pandemic of COVID-19, the sentiment will be against the government during the polls. And that will be the turn of people to show their discontentment with the arrangements, with the facilities, with the help that came from the government. And because of that, the incumbent government will lose or will suffer in the polls. And hence, the government's interest is to conduct it before the suffering become unbearable. And in that quest, State Election Commissioner of Andhra Pradesh has been removed. The state government of Andhra Pradesh has got the governor to pass an ordinance. Ordinance has brought about 2 changes. Number one is to cut the State Election Commissioner's SEC's tenure from 5 to 3 years. The present SEC was appointed in 2016. So 3 years for him is over. If you are making changes in the tenure, the present SEC stands disqualified to remain in office. Second change that was made was regarding the appointment criteria. Previously, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, the SEC needed to be officer of rank of principal secretary and above. But now he needs to be the one who has served as a High Court judge. And the present SEC is an IS officer, he is not a judge. So again, he stands disqualified to remain in the office. The legality of the ordinance has been challenged by SEC in the High Court, and that remains to be seen what will be the judgment of the High Court. The basic knowledge that you need to have to form an opinion on the issue is this. But however, you have to follow the interpretation of the Supreme Court. Constitutionally, it's the Supreme Court and the High Court who are mandated to interpret the Constitution. The provision of the Constitution, I'm going to present it before you. You form an opinion, but your opinion must be aligned with the judgment that will come from the High Court, and if there is an appeal, the final judgment that comes from the Supreme Court. See, State Election Commission are established under Article 243K, and this Article 243K was inserted via 73rd Constitutional Amendment. The need for such a body arose for conduction of election for local governments, the panchayats and municipalities, because they were to become a constitutional body themselves, so it was appropriate to form a constitutional body to oversee the elections for these bodies. By the way, you must know, and there shouldn't be any confusion, that the election to the state government obviously is conducted by Election Commission of India, not the State Election Commission. There are two provisions under Article 243K that ensures independence of a State Election Commission. One is that though a State Election Commissioner is appointed by the governor in the respective state, they can be removed only by the president, and only in the manner a judge of a high court is removed. And judge of a high court is removed in the similar manner a judge of a Supreme Court is removed. So removing State Election Commissioner is no easy task. And there is a second provision under Article 243K which will become the matter of interpretation. It says that although the condition of service for the State Election Commissioner is determined by governor on the advice of the political executive, it cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. What this recent ordinance of a state of Andhra Pradesh has done, whether it has impinged on this provision of Article 243K or not, that is a legal interpretation that has to be given by the court. See, it is clear that state governments are entitled to set the service condition, appointment criteria, etc. for the state election commissioner. So, are they not entitled to change the criteria anytime they want? Because the changes that they have made are changes in general, not targeted against the service condition of any particular state election commissioner. That is one point of view. And the second point of view is, if they are allowed to make changes like this, then they can make any criteria to remove the present state election commissioner. And there will be no independence of election commissioner in the state. And hence there will be harm to free and fair election in the state. But whether the recent ordinance of the state of Andhra Pradesh impinges on this provision of Article 243K or not, that has to be interpreted by the High Court and if need be by the Supreme Court. Today is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's birth anniversary. There is also an article on page number 7, Ambedkar and the Poona Pact. We'll talk both about Dr. Ambedkar and Poona Pact, but only as much as is important for the examination. I'm going to give you a few pointers on Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. You just have to check whether you know them already or not. We'll begin with something which is prominently in news since last few years. Battle of Koregaon. This was fought as part of Second Anglo-Maratha War, and Britishers, after winning this war, they built Koregaon Victory Memorial. On 1st of Jan 1927, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar organized a ceremony to celebrate this victory. The background story you would know that many soldiers from depressed class participated in the war from the side of British Army. And since the Britishers won, it is their victory and that is celebrated. But that does not augur well with the Maratha community of Maharashtra because Marathas lost the battle. In 1927, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led Mahad Satyagraha. In those times, depressed class people were not allowed to freely use public water bodies. And in defiance of that artificial restriction created by upper class, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar led this movement. In this movement, people basically drew water from the public tank, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, leading the movement, took a sip of water from a famous tank in Maharashtra called as Chowdar tank. You must know that in the first round table conference, depressed class was represented by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Rao Bahadur Srinivasan. You must also know that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar participated in all three roundtable conferences. Now you tell me the name of the other leader who also participated in all three roundtable conferences. Poona Pact, obviously you would be knowing that this was agreed upon by Mahatma Gandhi and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It was signed in 1932. The provisions of Poona Pact we will see in a while, but you have to know this was not signed by Mahatma Gandhi. Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya signed this pact on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar became the member of Executive Council of Viceroy as a Labour member in 1942. However, he resigned in 1946. This is very important for the prelims exam. There were three important newspapers you have to know that was started by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. The first one in 1924 was Mook Nayak. Mook Nayak literally translates to the leader of the dumb, the leader of voiceless. Bahishkrit Bharat, meaning excluded India. This was started in 1927 and it was renamed as Janta, the people. Prabuddha Bharat, meaning an awakened India, was started in 1956. Bahishkrit Hitkarni Sabha, this was the first organization started by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in 1924. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar formed an organization called as Independent Labour Party in 1936. And this participated in the provincial elections of Bombay. You would know provincial elections were in 1937. And in this, the organization of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had quite impressive success. It won 13 out of 15 seats reserved for the scheduled castes. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar transformed his Independent Labour Party as All India Scheduled Caste Federation in 1942. However, this party could not put up a good show in the elections that happened in 1946. And after his death, the party was renamed as Republican Party of India in 1957, but because of lack of leadership, it slowly passed into oblivion. Some of the books written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar you must be aware of. The most famous of them is The Untouchable. Who are they and why they have become untouchables? Buddha and his Dhamma, The Rise and Fall of Hindu Women, Emancipation of Untouchables, The Evolution of Provincial Finance in British India, Pakistan or Partition of India, Thoughts on Linguistic States. You must know that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar supported the idea of making provinces on linguistic basis. We all know Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was elected as chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was appointed as the first law minister of India, but he later resigned from the cabinet because of difference of opinion with Pandit Nehru on the issue of Hindu Code Bill. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar lost too many elections, and you can use this as an example of perseverance of a leader in ethics paper. Dr. Ambedkar was defeated in the general election that happened in 1952. However, he was brought to Raj Sabha and made a minister from there. He again contested the by-elections that happened in 1954, but he lost again. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar finally converted to Buddhism on October 14, 1956, and he died on December 6, 1956. Let's now talk about Poona Pact. Already you would be knowing this, but let's quickly just recount it. You would know that in 1932, the British Prime Minister Ramsay MacDonald, he announced communal award, and that had provision of separate electorate. Although the concept of separate electorate was not new, it started in 1909, but this time what was new was it was extended to depressed classes. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had the point of view that depressed classes should be treated as a distinct independent minority separate from Hindus. But Mahatma Gandhi was of the opinion that this is going to create more bad than good for the depressed classes. They are going to be marginalized further, and any chance of upliftment in the society will be gone. Congress didn't know what to do, so Congress neither accepted nor rejected. You have to know what was the stand of Congress on the communal award. This is very important for the prelims exam. Mahatma Gandhi demanded that the depressed classes must be elected through joint electorate. He went on fast for this in Yerwada jail and his condition started to deteriorate. There was immense amount of pressure on leaders of depressed classes, and a tense political situation was created. Under this situation, the practical man that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was, he agreed with Mahatma Gandhi on the issue of joint electorate, but put to certain conditions, and those conditions were made part of Pune Pact. You have to remember for the prelims exam that the agreement, the Poona Pact, was signed by Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya on behalf of Mahatma Gandhi on one side and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and some other Dalit leaders on the other side. So Pune Pact abandoned the idea of separate electorate altogether. But, however, the number of seats reserved for the depressed class under the communal award was increased from 71 to 147, more than doubled, in the provincial legislatures and to 18% in the central legislature. The leaders of upper caste show a big heart in agreeing to this demand in the Pune Pact, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar showed huge pragmatism in dropping the demand of separate electorate. The Pune Pact was accepted by the British government and the communal award was amended accordingly. Now let us see the important points for the prelims examination from the discussion we had so far. Take it in a form of quiz, an oral quiz. Close your eyes or don't see at the screen. Let me ask small questions to you. Because we have done this already, let me test how much you have retained. See, according to the GST Act, the center will compensate states and union territories with assemblies if the GST revenue growth is less than what percentage? The answer is 14%, and this has been promised for 5 years. GST Council is a constitutional body under Article 279A. Who is the chairman of GST Council? Finance Minister is the chairman, and the other members are the Minister in charge of Finances and Taxes of the state and Minister of State for Revenue. Every decision of GST Council shall be taken by a majority of not less than, finish the sentence, 3/4. And the weightage of central government in the vote in the GST Council is 1/3, and hence of the state would be 2/3. We talked about National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. It is demand-driven social security measures. For how many days minimum employment has to be guaranteed under this scheme? 100 days. I'm giving you a statement, tell me true or false. Only unskilled work is offered under NREGA. The statement in general is true. However, certain states like Tamil Nadu has started to involve NREGA workers into semi-skilled work as well. But that is not mandated as per the central legislation of NREGA. You must also be aware that NREGA is not on individual basis. Household is the target unit for NREGA, and employment is given per household rather than every adult individual in the village. Any person who is above the age of 18 years and reside in rural area is eligible under the scheme. I give you a statement, tell me true or false. NREGA is applicable for all districts in the country. The statement is false because it is applicable for all districts except those districts which have 100% urban population. Okay, now give me the article number under which a state election commission are established. The number is 243K, and Article 243K has been added via 73rd Constitutional Amendment when panchayats were given constitutional status. The purpose of a state election commission is to conduct the election for local bodies, panchayat and municipalities. Election for State Legislative Assembly and Legislative Council is conducted by Election Commission of India. Article 243K spells out the procedure of removal for State Election Commission, and it says that SEC is appointed by the governor of the respective state, but they can be removed by precedent only, and only in a manner a judge of a high court is removed, and judge of a high court is removed only in the manner a judge of Supreme Court is removed. Article 243 is also important for independence of a state election commission because it says that though the condition of service is determined by governor with the aid and advice of political executive, it cannot be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. Although we did Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in pointers already, but the most important thing among all the things we did is the newspapers of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, which are Mook Nayak, Bahishkrit Bharat and Prabuddha Bharat. Bahishkrit Hitkarni Sabha was the first organization formed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in 1924. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar also formed Independent Labour Party in 1936, which he transformed into All India Scheduled Caste Federation in 1942. In this section, we are going to talk about mains answer writing value addition. Here we'll list down anything that will add value to our answer for the mains examination. That may include case studies, international and national, examples from various states nationally and also internationally. It could also include Supreme Court judgments, the observation of Supreme Court, the guidelines of Supreme Court, the regulations made by Supreme Court. It will also include certain important definitions like last time we did about soft power. It will also include certain terms. For example, today we saw a term cooperative federalism technology that was introduced by Economic Survey 2017-18. It will also include certain important lines, observations that can be used in introductions and conclusion of the answer. It may also include some diagrams, flowcharts, table, etc. It will also include some data. For example, we saw today that 40% of the households do not have lands and are dependent on manual labor in the rural regions, according to the SECC data 2011. It will also include reports and recommendations of committees. Today we saw a term cooperative federalism technology. This we saw in the context of GST Council because it's bring together the center and the states and they can chalk out the difference among them to move forward for a policy reform. This was introduced by Economic Survey 2017-18. Now you can think of more cooperative federalism technologies apart from GST Council. If you can think of any, please let us know. There's an important data that I told you have to keep up your sleeve. It can be used anytime in writing any answer related to rural India, rural distress, rural employment generation, etc. According to 2011 Socio-Economic Caste Census, around 40% of rural households are landless and are dependent on manual labor. Case study is one thing that you should try while writing the answer for 15 markers. But you have to make sure it's short. It is not exceeding 50 words. And this could really be an enhancer for your marks. For example, today we saw a case how Tamil Nadu has transformed MGNREGA and it has institutionalized convergence system in the state by intervening MGNREGA with other public works. And the idea is to ensure both livelihood security for the vulnerable section and to help in regeneration of natural resources. This could be used for agriculture, this could be used for disaster management and in plethora of areas. State is doing this by collaboration of MGNREGA under Ministry of Rural Development and the departments like agriculture, fisheries, horticulture. This case that I have written here for you is well within 50 words. Likewise, in future also we'll be doing lot many cases. You have to have a list of mains answer writing value addition for you. You need to have a file for case studies, one for Supreme Court judgment, one for international examples. Similarly, many of them that we have listed above and which you will keep adding as and when you are studying new things. Now let's see question for the day. The question is, consider the following statements regarding State Election Commissioner. Statement number 1, he is appointed and removed by the governor. Statement number 2, he is removed in the manner a High Court judge is removed. Statement number 3, he decides on the election dates for local bodies and state legislative council. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 only, 1 and 2 only, 2 only, 1, 2 and 3. The answer to the previous question of the day is option number C, 3 only. The question was, consider the following statements regarding IMF. All member countries of the IMF are members of United Nations. This is an incorrect statement because many member countries of IMF are not full-fledged sovereign nations and hence they are not members of United Nations. Option number 2, the value of special drawing rights is determined by basket of 6 currencies. No, it is determined by basket of 5 currencies. Statement number 3 is India has second largest share in IMF quota system among BRICS nations. This is correct. China on number 1, India number 2, followed by Russia, Brazil and South Africa. Overall, the ranking of India in IMF quota system is 8, but among BRICS it's second. The third statement is correct. Option C will be the answer.